The sun rose over Ouagadougou with a golden haze. The air was dry, carrying the scent of red earth and morning firewood. Birds sang in the mango trees as life slowly stirred in the capital city of Burkina Faso. Inside the modest presidential residence, Ibrahim Traoré stood alone on the veranda, his eyes scanning the city he had vowed to protect. He was young, barely into his mid-30s, but his presence was calm, grounded. The smell of strong coffee drifted from the kitchen behind him. "Ibrahim," called Awa, his longtime advisor, stepping into the warm light with a folder in hand. A courier arrived at dawn. They said, "It's from North Korea." Ibrahim furrowed his brow. North Korea? The envelope was thick, sealed in red wax with unfamiliar markings. No one knew how it got past borders or why it had been delivered so personally. Something about it felt wrong, or powerful. He took the letter into his hands slowly, the weight of the unknown chilling his fingers despite the heat. That morning, everything was still. But change had begun to stir like a distant drumbeat in the Sahel. Inside his private office, Ibrahim locked the door behind him. Dust particles floated like tiny spirits in the sunlight. The letter sat unopened on his carved wooden desk, surrounded by reports and policy drafts. His hands trembled slightly as he broke the seal. The contents were handwritten, neat, deliberate strokes in ink that bled slightly into the paper. A translator had attached a discreet note. "This message is for your eyes only." He read, and paused, then read again. Lines formed on his forehead as his eyes widened. Kim Jong-un had not sent threats or propaganda. Instead, he wrote of an idea, a strange, almost unthinkable offer. A future where certain African nations would form a new axis of independence, beyond Western or Eastern powers. He spoke of weapons, infrastructure, solidarity, a whisper of rebellion wrapped in diplomacy. Ibrahim's heart pounded. Was this unity or manipulation? A knock shattered the silence. Awa's voice came muffled through the wood. "You all right in there?" He couldn't answer. His world had shifted, slightly, but deeply, and he knew this letter could not stay buried. By sunset, Ibrahim and Awa sat outside under the neem tree in the courtyard. The shadows grew longer and the city lights blinked on like tired stars. Awa stared at the translated letter in silence. Her fingers tapped nervously on the table. "This is not just diplomacy," she said finally. "It's strategy, psychological, political, dangerous. But what if it's real?" Ibrahim's voice was soft. "What if we could break free from every chain? Do you know what that would mean for Africa?" "I do. And so does everyone who'd want to stop us." Awa's eyes narrowed. "Once you reply to this, we enter a game we may never leave. The world will watch, and not kindly." In the distance, a call to prayer echoed from a mosque loudspeaker, wrapping the air in somber beauty. Ibrahim looked up. He didn't know what scared him more, saying yes or ignoring the chance of a lifetime. Then his phone lit up. A new message from an unknown contact. "We know you've received it. Meet us tomorrow." The night suddenly felt colder. Ibrahim sat alone in his study. The lights dimmed, the sound of crickets outside blending with the occasional bark of a distant dog. The glow of his phone was the only light in the room. He stared at the message again. "We know you've received it. Meet us tomorrow." He tapped the screen, thinking. No name, no number, just pressure. At midnight, he called one man he trusted beyond politics, Colonel Caboret, an old comrade from the resistance days. Within 30 minutes, the colonel arrived, still in uniform, boots coated with dust from the field. "You think it's a trap?" Caboret asked after reading the message. "I don't know," Ibrahim replied, "but something tells me it's bigger than we think." Kabore leaned forward. "Then we go together. If anyone tries something, they won't get far." Ibrahim nodded slowly. There was strength in brotherhood, but there was also danger in walking toward the unknown. Outside, the wind picked up, rustling dry leaves against the stone wall. It sounded like whispers. The meeting would happen at sunrise on the edge of the city, and Ibrahim wasn't sure if he'd return the same. The place was strange, a forgotten cinema on the outskirts of Ouagadougou. Broken signs, faded posters of films from decades ago. The building leaned like it remembered better times. Ibrahim, Kabore, and two silent guards stood outside the rusted doors as the morning light broke through scattered clouds. Then, from the shadows, a man stepped out. He was neither Korean nor Burkinabe, Middle Eastern maybe, dressed in a long coat, eyes sharp like someone used to secrets. "You came alone?" the man asked in French. "No one comes alone anymore," Ibrahim replied, calm. The man smiled, as if he respected the answer. Inside the theater, rows of torn seats faced a blank screen. On the stage sat a single briefcase. "We're not here to hurt you," the man said, unlocking it. "Kim Jong-un has a vision. He's chosen you to carry it into Africa." The lid opened. Inside, blueprints, satellite maps, and a small drive. "What's this?" Kabore asked, tense. "A plan," the man said. "But once you see it, there's no unseeing it." Ibrahim looked at the drive. His hands didn't move. His mind raced. Back at the palace, Ibrahim sat under the tamarind tree. The drive lay on the table, untouched. Birds chirped above, unaware of the storm it held. He hadn't spoken since they returned. Kabore stayed close, watching him quietly, respectful. Finally, Ibrahim whispered, "They want a satellite system over Africa, military-linked, funded and controlled by Pyongyang. They say it'll protect us, lift us." Kabore stayed silent. "It could give us power," Ibrahim continued. "But at what cost? Our hands, tied to another master?" Awa joined them, breathless. "You need to see the news," she said, handing over a tablet. The screen showed headlines. "Nuclear satellite found over West Africa. Allegedly North Korean tech." Ibrahim's mouth went dry. They had already started. The offer wasn't a choice. It was an invitation into something already moving. He looked up at his team. "We're not just players now," he said softly. "We're the board." But somewhere deep inside, he felt a shift. This was no longer diplomacy. This was war without guns. It was just after dawn. The sun rose slow and wide over the capital, painting Ouagadougou in soft gold. But Ibrahim's heart was heavy. He met with his inner circle in a quiet, candlelit hall at the back of the presidential compound. These were not politicians. They were protectors, revolutionaries who'd stood beside him when the world turned its back. He laid the drive on the wooden table. "I need your truth," he said. Each voice in the room spoke with care. Some were hopeful. "This could level the playing field," one said. Others were cautious. "North Korea doesn't give. It trades," another warned. Then an elder, General Compaoré, leaned forward. His voice was gravel and wisdom. "They are baiting you," he said. "This isn't about Burkina Faso. It's about making us a symbol, a flag they can wave." Outside, the harmattan wind whispered against the windows. Ibrahim looked at the drive one last time. "I want to believe in something better," he said softly. And for the first time, his voice cracked. That night, something unexpected happened. An unlisted channel went live online, a private stream only visible to certain IP addresses across Africa. The title was simple: "Message from Pyongyang to our brothers in Africa." The screen showed a sleek, dark room, Kim Jong-un appeared, seated, calm, almost grandfatherly in tone. "Africa has suffered," he began. "Used, divided, watched. Now a new age can begin." The video played clips of famine, war, and poverty, then shifted to visions of high-speed trains, satellites over African cities, children in modern classrooms. "Our friend Ibrahim Traoré has been chosen," Kim said. "Not to follow, but to lead." The room where Ibrahim watched fell silent. "He made this public," Awa whispered, "without your reply." Ibrahim stood. "He's playing with fire." Kabore's eyes narrowed. "He wants to make you a hero, or a traitor." Outside, the streets of Ouagadougou buzzed. People were already talking. The internet was ablaze. The choice was no longer just his. Morning brought phone calls from every corner of the continent. Presidents, ministers, rebels. Some praised him. "Africa needs boldness," said one East African leader. Others warned him. "Don't bring our nations into a storm," said another from the south. In Dakar, protesters held signs with his face. In Nairobi, newsrooms debated his name like he was already history. Ibrahim sat on the palace rooftop as the city moved beneath him. He hadn't answered. He hadn't agreed. Yet somehow, they had already made him the center of the story. Awa brought him tea. He didn't drink. "Maybe it was never about the letter," he said. She looked at him confused. "Then what?" He stared at the horizon. "Maybe it was about who I become after reading it." In the far distance, a plane circled above. Military, not commercial. They were watching now. He felt it. And deep inside, something told him they weren't done. The presidential office was dark except for the orange lamp on Ibrahim's desk. A knock came, firm and coded. 3 taps. Pause. 2 more. Kabore entered, followed by 2 masked men in plain clothing. Foreign, but not strangers. "We bring a message from the East," one said in careful French. "Not China, not Korea. A third player." He handed Ibrahim a sealed folder. No stamp, no sign. Just wait. Inside, a photograph. A secret summit. 3 men, a Russian arms dealer, a South African telecom magnate, and a general from Sudan. The date was last week. Ibrahim's stomach turned. "What is this?" he asked. "Africa is the board," the man replied. "And you are the king, or the pawn." They left without another word. Kabore watched them go. "This is bigger than anything we've seen." Ibrahim looked back at the photo. His voice was barely a whisper. "Then we either build our own future." He didn't finish the sentence. Because outside, sirens began to scream. By morning, Ouagadougou felt different. Soldiers were everywhere. Roads blocked. Rumors flying like wildfire. "Coup attempt?" a journalist shouted. "Foreign sabotage?" Ibrahim stood on the steps of the National Assembly, his eyes scanning the faces. Young and old. Worried and wide-eyed. "We are not falling," he announced into the microphone. "We are standing." But inside, he was falling apart. Awa ran to him after the speech. "We just received intel," she said, voice shaking. "The letter was intercepted, by more than one country." "Which ones?" She hesitated. "France and the US." Ibrahim blinked. It made sense now. Why his calls weren't being returned. Why the skies had been buzzing with drones. "They want to stop whatever is coming," he said. "But what is coming?" she asked. He had no answer. All he knew was the fuse had been lit, and now everyone wanted to own the fire. That evening, Ibrahim left the city. No motorcade, no cameras, just him, Kabore, and a dusty pickup truck rumbling across the dry Sahel. They stopped outside a small mosque in a village forgotten by maps. The imam was nearly blind, but recognized his president by voice. "Come," he said, "you carry more than politics today." Inside, it was quiet. No speeches, no bodyguards, just prayer mats and silence. Ibrahim knelt. His forehead touched the woven mat. "Guide me," he whispered. "Not for power, but for peace." When he rose, Kabore waited by the door. "There's something you should know," he said. He held up a phone. "The North Koreans. They're coming. A plane just entered African airspace. No clearance, no contact." Ibrahim stepped into the night, staring at the stars. And for the first time, he felt it in his bones. They were coming for him, not just with politics, but with presence. The plane touched down in the middle of the desert, far from any airport, watched only by a few goats in the orange clouds of dusk. Awa's voice crackled over the radio. "They're here." Ibrahim stepped out of the pickup, dressed simply in a white bubu, the desert wind tugging at the fabric. The aircraft door opened slowly. Out stepped a figure in all black, tall, still, unreadable. Not Kim Jong-un, but someone else. "I represent the chairman," the man said with a slight bow. "My name is Wan Ji." He handed over a small wooden box. Ibrahim opened it carefully. Inside was a metal object, a part of a missile, a tracker, a key. "The chairman offers you a partnership," Wan Ji said. "Technology, weapons, satellites." "For what in return?" Ibrahim asked. The man smiled. "A new world, one not controlled by the West." Kabore stepped closer. "It's a trap." But Ibrahim's eyes were fixed on the object. It was marked with a strange symbol. One he had seen once, long ago, in a war journal left behind by a French general back in the capital. Ibrahim asked for the old archives. Locked in a dusty vault beneath the Ministry of Defense, he found it. A faded red book written by Colonel Marchand, a French intelligence officer who operated during Burkina Faso's struggle for independence. Inside, sketched in shaky pencil, was the same symbol from the box. Notes beside it said only, "East Wind Project, abandoned, too powerful, hidden in the Sahel." Ibrahim turned the pages faster. This was here, decades ago. "They're not offering us something new," Awa whispered behind him. "They're reclaiming something they left behind." Ibrahim froze. Kim Jong-un's letter wasn't about future alliances. It was about finishing an old mission, one buried in African soil long ago. And he was just the chosen trigger. Outside, the wind howled through the concrete corridors. "We've been part of their game longer than we knew," Kabore muttered. Ibrahim closed the journal. "We need to warn the others." A secret meeting was called in Ouagadougou. No cameras, no media, just leaders. From Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Chad, men and women who had once distrusted each other. Ibrahim stood before them. The box sat on the table. "This is what they want us to carry. A future built on fear." He told them everything. About the East Wind Project, about the foreign planes, about the lie wrapped in promises. One general pounded the table. "So what do we do? Reject it? Fight it?" "No," Ibrahim said. "We must outsmart it." The room fell silent. "We build something different, a united front. Not just soldiers, but thinkers, builders, farmers. Africa isn't a battleground, it's a birthplace." The leaders looked at each other, unsure, until the president of Mali stood up. "I'm with you." Then Guinea, then Chad, one by one. But even as the fire of hope lit in the room, a message arrived on Ibrahim's phone. Satellite breach. Something just landed, unmarked, near the Ghana border. The Ghanaian desert shimmered under the full moon as Ibrahim's convoy arrived near the breach site. A wide crater, still warm, smoked quietly in the middle of nowhere. The air buzzed, like a low hum from under the earth. A group of villagers had gathered whispering in Dagbani. "They say it fell from the stars," a local elder told Ibrahim, "but it walked straight into the rocks." Military scouts led him toward a rock wall cracked open. Behind it, a tunnel, man-made, deep, waiting. Awa looked uneasy. Who would dig something like this out here? Ibrahim touched the stone. No one, not recently. Inside, they found footprints, large, heavy, not human. "What did Kim send us?" Kabore whispered. Further in, lights flickered. Machinery, rusted panels with symbols that matched the journal. Then they saw it. A sarcophagus-shaped container, humming with energy. A countdown flashed. 72 laos. 72 hours. Back in Ouagadougou, the alliance met again. Ibrahim showed them the footage. Some gasped. Others accused him of lying. "This is real," he said firmly. "Whatever that thing is, it activates in 3 days." A scientist from Chad stepped forward. "It's not a bomb, it's a signal." "To who?" asked the president of Guinea. No answer. Kabore handed Ibrahim a translated page from the old French journal. It mentioned a failed global experiment during the Cold War. It was meant to awaken something that listens, buried beneath desert lands. The project was sealed, silenced. But North Korea had found it again, and now it was waking up. Ibrahim looked around the table. "We have 2 choices. Run, or stop it before it sends that signal." They all stared at him, waiting. Then one voice broke through. "I'll go with you," Awa said. One by one, others nodded. They were going back. They returned under cover of darkness. The tunnel was colder now, windless, still. The device's countdown read 46-12-19. Ibrahim approached the console. A voice echoed, not out loud, but inside their heads. Cold, mechanical, foreign. "Access recognized. African command protocol enabled." "What the?" Kabore staggered back. "It knows you." Ibrahim stared at the panel. His fingers moved almost instinctively, guided by something. A memory. A dream. Colonial archives. "They studied this," he murmured. "My grandfather was part of it. They erased everything." Suddenly, the sarcophagus opened. Inside was a core, glowing, alive, and above it, projected into thin air, an image. Kim Jong-un. "This is a message for Africa's sons," his voice boomed. "The West will betray you. This will make you unbreakable." Ibrahim turned to the others. "This isn't help. It's control. Another leash." He reached for the core. "Once I touch this, there's no turning back." Then, darkness. If this story blew your mind, like this video and subscribe now for more twists, mysteries, and powerful journeys. Let's tell Africa's story together.